Today in the studio, I got a fucking bona fide treat for you. Tommy Vext in the house. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Often duplicated, but never successfully replicated.
If you guys don't know who he is, dude, you're living under a rock. You guys can find him on Instagram at The Lone Wolf Gang, right?
The Lone Wolf
Gang. The newest one.
Third Instagram.
The Lone Wolf Gang. Or you can just Google him, dude. He's a full pager. I always call people that, you know, have a full page. Like if you Google somebody and they got a full page, like you scroll and scroll and it's all them.
Yeah.
That means you're actual celeb.
Am I?
Yeah. Oh, you are for sure. There's some people like you can go a little bit down and then it stops.
I'm like I feel like anti-celebrity.
You're a full pager.
Yeah. The good, the bad, the in between.
Used to sing for Bad Wolves. Now he's got his own. It's pretty much your own band, isn't it? Lone Wolf band.
Yeah. I mean, I just so I went under the moniker Lone Wolf and I dropped it because I talked to people at radio and with my former band I had like 6 #1 radio hits. And they were like, everybody knows who you are. Just go as Tommy Vext. So I actually reset everything and went back. And I just launched a new single. That's my first single as a solo artist at 170 rock stations across America. The song's called The War You Wanted. There's a music video on YouTube. You can check it out, and Spotify and all that other jam.
Do you know that dude? I think he's a white dude, but he's a rapper. But he's talking about the shit that's going on with America right now.
There's a couple. There's Tom McDonald.
Whoever it is, it's good.
Yeah. Tom McDonald is one of the guys who he's like very.
Does he always have the makeup with like?
Yeah, he changes around. He does stuff like that. He's got a lot of cool songs.
Is your song like that?
No, I'm more in this song's more in the rock vein, like Bad Wolves, most people know us from the song Zombie that was multi-platinum, had billions of streams and almost 500 million views on YouTube. Most of the songs that were put out on radio and stuff, like I was the writer or the co-writer and it was my studio guitar player. We came out as a band, but the guys who were in the band didn't play on the records. So when we had this big tension split over, cancel culture, and we'll get into all the reasons what I was saying on social media in 2020, why that happened. I just kind of wanted to take my ball and go on my way, right? Because I believe that you should go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. But it's never that easy. How contracts work.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
They're like, you got to get out of here. And then they realize they're kicking the talent out, and then they're like, but we're going to keep all your, intellectual property. And I was like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, dude, the music business is a nasty business if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, even if you do know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible. The contracts are very, like when I walked away, I said I was leaving the plantation because it is slavery. Right. It's like I experienced an inability to express freedom of speech. They wanted to control what I posted, what my political opinions were, who I was associated with.
But when you signed an agreement, did you read it? Did it say that shit in there?
No, because if you put that language into contracts, then it's illegal. So they just go through these gaslighting campaigns of mental and emotional manipulation where they'll have 200 people come at you to try to convince you to do the same thing. When it's, I think they're just used to financially controlling the artists and it's easier. And when I came into this band, I had already built a company. I was a sober companion. I've been sober for 13 years, and I started companioning probably around 2014 or 15. And, this is a job where I ran a men's rehab facility, and my boss really took a liking to me. And then he heard me speak, and he heard my life story. And then he said, you really could save a lot of people's lives. And so then I went from making $150 a day to $2 or $3 grand a day. And living with people like Justin Bieber and other celebrities that I can't
keeping them sober.
Yeah, just being with them, right? And so it was I did well in those jobs because I look like a bodyguard, and nobody would suspect. And I think it's also important to note, it's in Hollywood. it's very hard to be a celebrity and get sober by going to a rehab or this, that, the other, because the paparazzi show up. You put other people's anonymity in jeopardy. And so this is a very kind of like secret job that a few people have. And I was really good at it. Right. And I came from, we were talking earlier, like my mother was a crackhead and abandoned me at birth with me and my twin brother. And I grew up in the South Brooklyn, and my dad was a janitor, and we were very poor. I was adopted, but I got adopted into more poverty. And I just grew up fighting and selling drugs and,
in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And so, I had a couple brushes with death that scared me straight in my, late teens, early 20s. So these are the kind of things where like I had these experiences, and I could convey a message of depth and weight to these people, and I helped a lot of people, and it was a good gig.
Where did you get into music? At what age?
Around 14.
So you could always sing?
I was in punk rock and hardcore bands. I loved bands like Pantera and Korn, and I grew up in CBGB, so the local bands that would play there were like our heroes. And that's the only place where I felt comfortable was on stage. And I was a super angry kid. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was born addicted to drugs and alcohol. Didn't know that. And, what I loved about the New York hardcore scene was like, it didn't matter if you were black, white, Asian, gay, straight, whatever. Like everyone was basically, allowed. And we protected each other, and it was literally there was just some rules, and it was basically keep it real were the rules. And, and so that kind of became my like family, that like culture. And so I chased that dream because it's the only thing that ever really felt good.
And that led you all over the country, all over the globe, singing in arenas.
Yeah. That came
basically
later.
A rock star life.
Yeah.
Banging the chicks.
I did a lot of that.
Running and gunning.
Yeah, I didn't run guns anymore. It was just, I ran my mouth more than anything. I stopped getting in trouble when I was in my early 20s. My twin brother he's still in jail. He's doing 20 years for attempted murder. He actually tried to murder me in 2010. He was like, he was smoking angel dust and broke into my apartment in New York. And there's a famous song, Bad Wolf
twins?
Song. Yeah, there's the song "Remember When" is a Bad Wolf song that I wrote. That was pretty famous. It was like the #1 active rock song of 2019, and got all kinds of attention and stuff because the story is so like next level. And I think that he and I are a perfect example of what happens when you make choices, right? Because we both came from the same disadvantages. We came from the same broken home. We came from the same beginnings. But something about me was always like, this isn't enough for me, and I don't want this. And maybe it was the music scene, or maybe it was just my inherent nature. But I didn't want that. I saw my friends dying. I saw people overdosing. I've had people I grew up with get murdered. I didn't want that. So I chased my dreams, and I took my alcoholism with me. It didn't really work for so long.
Was that what it was? Alcoholism?
It was everything, drugs, alcohol, pussy.
Like what,
Coke, meth, crack.
See, I've done all that.
Yeah. But I just did it to the point of homelessness.
Me too. Well, not that bad, but I always think everybody's done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hooked on crack for like 3 days, and I was smart enough to realize, dude, I'm fucking sprung.
Yeah.
So I literally moved way away and said, I ain't touching that shit again. So I wasn't that sprung because I could quit on my own.
This is like we call that a geographic in recovery.
But dude, it was like, that shit right there. Like the first, time I did it, it didn't do anything. Then the dude gave me another proper 20, as he called it. And I smoked that, and it was over. Boom. I started fucking, for 3 days straight, I was sitting there smoking. I smoked it so much that I was in my bedroom smoking the last bit of it, and my chest felt like an elephant was stepping on it.
Yeah.
And I could barely breathe, and it scared the shit out of me. That's the day I woke up the next day. I was still alive. I said, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Never touched it again.
I had multiple experiences like that. And like, I didn't have some, I had almost overdosed, but that wasn't enough. The last time I used was like, it wasn't even glamorous. It wasn't special. I just like threw up and shit myself on my friend's bathroom floor and woke up in it and was like, I can't do this anymore.
Now, me and you recently had a little conversation online because I posted something and you posted a response to it, which in normal cases I'd be like, fuck yeah. But you know, it was you who I respect. So I'm like, well, fuck, what, why is he so pissed? I didn't really say. And first of all, you got to understand, I was talking for like 6 to 8 minutes and they chopped up 30 seconds of it. And it made it sound, I'll even show you my text to my team. I'm like, I don't like this one. They're like, why? And I'm like, you're kind of making it sound like I'm saying, and I don't say that shit. And they're like, no, not really. And they kind of almost talked me into leaving it. But then when people started going a little fucking haywire, I'm like, see, you motherfuckers. And I said, now I can't delete it because now I'll look real bad. So I just I just left it. But at the end of the day, I went back and listened to it 15 times. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, there's some truth to what I'm saying. So, but there's also truth to what you're saying, but I want to get into it because
absolutely.
You were canceled. Yes. Technically. I mean, you weren't because everyone knows who you still fucking are. Canceled to me, like Andrew Tate. Is he canceled?
Yes.
No, he's not. Open up your fucking phone. He's everywhere.
This is the thing.
Alex Jones might be.
The cancellation process is part of the financial demonetization and financial punishment that they drag you through. Also, you know, like I've had hit pieces done. I've had people in the industry reach out to jilted exes and have them file false domestic violence reports against me. And then I can't prove that they were paid.
They probably were, dude.
But there was also an extortion attempt during that where, you know, I was falsely accused of almost killing my ex-girlfriend who I broke up with for cheating on me with a celebrity and stopped paying her bills and never talked to her again. And then months later,
will you tell us?
Yeah, it's Alex Rodriguez while he was married to Jennifer Lopez.
Hey.
Yeah, allegedly. I have to say allegedly. I don't want no more lawsuits. But anyway, so like, you know, and the relationship was a turbulent one because she was using pills and drinking, and not frequently, but when she did, she was increasingly more and more violent, right? So basically, when I got this you know, hit with this stuff, I'm reading these reports, and it's literally, I've been sober 12 years at that time, 11 years. And I remember everything because I was there. And it's literally just every incident of where she had conducted herself in a manner of extreme violence and drunkenness and just flipped it around. So we went, you know, I went to criminal court and I beat the charges. It got thrown out. And then she got more upset that she wasn't able to like bring criminal charges against me. So she got a restraining order and I went to court and I fought that.
Why would you fight it?
Because because my options were give her $100,000 to walk away or go to court. And I fought it because of the principle. Right?
Like, if you just got a restraining order on me, give a fuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, but this is the thing. We're living in a time where men, especially men who are outspoken, are being targeted, and masculinity is being put into a position where anything that you do, they will try to drag you. They will go deep. They'll dig into your past. They'll find, you know, I'm like, listen, I'm not an angel. I've stabbed people. I've been stabbed. I've been shot at. I've been run over by cars. I've had my skull broke multiple times. Like, I did not come from a nice, easy place. Right. And so, and I've been in decades of therapy and 13 years of recovery. Right. And so, you know, I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not, but this is something that you're not going to come and accuse me of something that you did just because there's a trend. And in my court case, the judge ruled that there was no evidence of domestic violence, and they gave her an online bullying restraining order because they didn't want me to expose, one, that she was a sex worker, right, which had become revealed to me because her employee quit working for her to testify against her because what she was doing was wrong, and exploited all her other extracurricular financial activities, and then other just personal stuff.
Now, is this before you were quote unquote canceled?
No, this was all happening simultaneously.
So I mean,
in retrospect, there were times where like this thing was filed, and then I'd get a call from management saying I need to sign a contract saying that I'm going to forfeit my First Amendment right on social media. and you don't see what's
Which is
happening.
freedom of speech, correct?
Yeah.
Just in case people out there don't know the fucking First Amendment.
Yeah. So you don't really see, so when it's hard to see this stuff is happening to you because the people who are doing this are brilliant. They're geniuses at this. They're master manipulators. They will, when I see Kanye melting down and going crazy, I understand why. They go after your parents, your family, your wife, your kids, everything, right? They drive everyone away from you. I had relationships with band members of 20 years who were like absolute losers that I financially saved them multiple times, gave them a career. They can successfully manipulate and convince these people that because of my political beliefs, I was going to tank the band's career. Meanwhile, my social media numbers were tripling, quadrupling across all platforms, and I had quickly become the most present social media celebrity of the entire record label.
Well, number one, your band had no loyalty.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I mean, you'd think a band is like close.
It's not. Well, I was the boss. I had a business partner who was a drug addict and into like teenage girls, so he had his own fucking problems. And I had a bunch of other guys who were just like resented me because they have all these platinum plaques and all this other stuff for shit they didn't do.
Hey,
so,
by the way, how those first forms.
Oh, this Orange Sunset, this is the jam.
Everybody keeps saying they're fucking good.
Oh, you got to get a case of these, bro.
I'm going to.
Oh, yeah.
We got to support our boy Andy Frisella.
That's right.
Dude, that guy's a machine.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you look up fucking cool, that dude's got the picture.
He's not trying either.
He ain't trying. He doesn't even say it. Like, dude, like when I go out there, I've only been out there a couple times. I see his fucking car collection. I'm like, dude, I had no idea. And then I went out there again when he built the thing. You've been out there since.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, I had no idea. Then he goes and gets that old general's house, built that garage. You been in it?
Yeah, he lives in the former president's
dude, I had no fucking idea. And like, you can't even tell. He's wearing jeans and boots and fucking, he's a good old boy. Yeah. He don't give a fuck.
Well, I mean, the thing, like, Andy is not a flashy guy. And what I will say that him and I have been very close for the past couple of years. I would call him one of my best friends. He and Ian Smith kind of were very early on starting to break down what was going on during the whole
How did you guys all meet each other? Because of the shit?
Because of being outspoken and like we would see each other's content and we had mutual friends. And so it just became, I think that, people were, the QAnons were like the Great Awakening. What I look at the Great Awakening of 2020 was everyone showed their true colors and you saw who everyone really was. And so, there was a time where it felt like we were the only three people saying anything.
Well, dude, listen, I was saying shit. Go back and look. I told you on that thing.
I know.
Go back and look, motherfucker. I was saying shit too.
Well, we're here now. You know what I mean? So,
and by the way, people be like, dude, I wouldn't talk about that on your podcast. Dude, what do you think a podcast is for? I do want to talk about it. Why?
Yeah.
Because I can't believe that there's people witnessing this shit and just not saying anything. Now, what I said, by the way, just to tell the crowd, all I said was, play by the rules on social media, meaning social media. I ain't talking about censorship out of the fucking world. I ain't talking about vax. I ain't talking about none of that shit. I'm talking about social media because someone was bringing it up and I'm like, dude, if you play by the rules and you're fucking smart, you can say what you need to say without fucking really getting booted. Now, again, I have been booted 2 times off social media, but it was for stupid shit. I really wasn't saying anything.
Sure.
But anyway, that's what I meant was just, fucking fly under the radar, play by the rules so you can be in the game. Because if you're not in the game, you're fucked. Or you could be fucked.
Well, this is the thing. It's like the solution, and this is what I was getting at is like, I don't believe that the solution to solving tyranny, which is what's happening, right? You have big tech and you have a religious ideology that's their religious. They're in a cult.
But you took that global, which again, I can see why.
Yeah.
But you took that like global when all I was talking about is stupid ass social media.
Well, that's the thing. This social media is a weapon. It's not stupid. It does as much damage as a nuclear bomb. Because without social media, you would have never successfully been able to influence first world nations elections. You would never have been able to convince everyone to stay locked down for almost 2 years. It just wouldn't have been possible. It's a brainwashing device. And what I was talking about earlier about the bots is we now know that there were massive campaigns and probably tens to hundreds of millions of dollars pumped in to troll farms who would immediately cue into words at anyone with a dissenting opinion on social media to abuse them into silence. Now that's a form of psychological warfare, right? And I especially take that very seriously when, there is, and this, you're probably not going to be able to air this, when we now know that both Democratic and Republican politicians purchased stock in pharmaceutical companies that then took trillions of dollars of our tax money and put it into those companies, knowing that they were going to force us to take those medicines.
Now that should be against the law.
It should absolutely be against the law,
but it's not.
But that's what. But when this is another reason why we can't look at social media as little bitty itty social media. They understand the power that they have, and they censor people accordingly. They don't want to promote critical thinking, right? You look at TikTok and their algorithm that everyone's talking about in China, right? In China, TikTok will reward kids who do math equations or science experiments or construction or everything that is to build up their youth and build them to make them more valuable and more strong. And we have people out here who want to be influencers who just fucking dance and look like goons. Now, people also need to understand there's a huge push against TikTok saying it's anti-American and it's run by China and this, that, the other. It's paid for by Metaverse. Instagram and Facebook are spending because they're losing. They just lost $90 billion or something, right, in stocks. They're losing their ass. And all of the young people are going over to TikTok because they're not being censored the same way, right? I was telling you before.
No, TikTok censors the shit out of you.
Well, as a musician or an artist, as a creator, I can put up a song on TikTok and it goes viral. And like I said, I charted on Billboard. No, like the media will not, again, we'll get into the media and how it's owned. The media will never report on my charting or sales because it looks bad. I charted at number 4 on Billboard, number 10, number 17, and number 20 off my TikTok in sales.
But that's what I mean. Like, so someone says, well, Tommy got canceled. That ain't canceled.
Well, this is the thing. What the part that's canceled is that the overall view is that no, like, Metal Sucks, Metal Injection, Blabbermouth, Metal Hammer, like all these big, like all the rock, Rolling Stone refused to do an interview with me. And again, like I've sold more records than the people that they're putting on the front of their magazines. They won't talk to me because they're not allowed. And it's because the record labels pay these websites to advertise for their bands, basically their band's albums and tours. So they dictate who's allowed to be covered
or famous.
Exactly. And so the whole, like the entertainment industry, our political system, everything, they favor the totalitarian government system because they're operating in the same totalitarian corporate way. Right. So they're very much aligned. The other thing is just like, and again, allegedly, just like the politicians who took massive amounts of stock in Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, whatever, so did the CEOs of these record labels.
Well, dude, when I heard Bill Gates owned or was involved with Moderna, I bought Moderna.
Of course.
Because I knew, Bill Gates was buying that shit, and it went up. But here's what happened. When they started saying, the vaccine and, it's going to supposedly kill people, of course, I'm listening to both sides. I fucking sold it like a dumbass, but I bought it.
Yeah.
The difference is I had no inside information. But
the difference between you buying that stock, would you refuse to allow your employees to have a public discourse about the product that company makes? That's the difference. The record labels absolutely colluded to refuse to let any artist speak out against the medication.
See, that's why I'm trying to figure out who is this group that is so fucking powerful, because they're mighty ass powerful.
It's the I mean, I believe it's the banking infrastructure.
The Rothschilds.
I mean, there's that's one family.
But I mean, there's people running the shit. It ain't the president.
Yeah.
It's not the government.
No.
Like,
we have so many global issues right now with, I look at, it's hard for me to like support Ukraine, right? Do I think that a country should invade another country? No. I played Russia. I've got a gold record there. You know what I mean? I have fans in Ukraine. There's bands I love that are from Ukraine. Most of the people I had to download Viker, which is a Eastern European social media site, because all of my fans were kicked off of Facebook and Instagram for voicing their opinion.
Well, dude, I haven't been on Facebook in 100 years. Facebook's lame.
Yeah, but everything is going that way.
Yeah, but like I put something on Instagram, everyone's like, "Yeah, I fucking love this." I put the same shit on Facebook, and everyone calls me a freaking baby raping killer. I'm like, what the fuck?
But I think that's also bots. I don't think that these are genuinely
people were
real.
Tearing my ass up on Facebook, and I'm like, Jesus.
You got to look at their profiles. How long have those profiles existed? What countries are they from?
So you're telling me those could have been just bots?
Yeah. And what happens is that if you call them out, or if you start systematically blocking the fake profiles, they stop interacting with you because they know you know. So they give up. And they move on to the next person.
Well, if you post something on, I don't know if you have this happen, but every time I make a post on Instagram, I get 1,000 Forex Traders, and thank God for Miss June, and and I said I'm obsessed with deleting them, so I have to like delete, but you can't keep up with them. Those bots just want to talk about come over here and Forex trade. You're talking about there's bots directly looking to spin the narrative.
Yeah, if you say any of the key words, they'll just respond. It'll just come in, and sometimes it's a person, but who did this? The guys from God, I can't remember the guy's name. A bunch of these guys collected thousands of responses and it's all the same. It's like the same 10 responses, and it's thousands of profiles it's all an algorithm, and it's all just like antithesis commenting.
You remember that cop that got, I think, fired because he wouldn't, Andy posted it, and I followed the guy and gave him some money because everyone gave him money.
Oh yeah, Graham.
I forget, but he was a cop, and he basically
in Washington.
I don't know where he was, but he stood up basically for fucking patriotism and American freedoms and shit.
Yeah, I still follow him. He's a good dude.
And they popped him for it.
Yeah.
But then everybody just gave him a bunch of money.
Yeah, and now, he restarted his whole life. He's like he does jujitsu and stuff now. He's like,
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like, in my mind, me saying play by the rules with social media was me basically saying, don't get kicked out of the fucking party so you can get laid type of thing. It wasn't look, do this and then all this happens because of it. Otherwise I wouldn't be saying play by the fucking rules. Because if the rules were like, if playing by the rules is getting a vaccine, for example, I ain't getting a fucking vaccine. Sure. I told everybody I know not to get a vaccine. Now there's only supposedly 50 million people in the US that didn't get one.
I don't believe that.
There's got to be more.
Yeah, I don't believe
they're not less.
Yeah,
because and then now people are starting to say, it was difficult not to get one. It wasn't difficult not to get one. I didn't even think about it for 1 second.
The thing is, there was like you had Hollywood, you had look, like I know doctors like I don't even know how to say this without getting anyone in trouble. Most NBA players are not vaccinated, right? Kyrie Irving said, "I'm not doing it." Nobody else did. They got fake cards.
Yeah.
All the celebrities
I got a fake card. Now that's playing by the rules.
All the celebrities have fake cards.
But that's playing by the rules, Tommy. That's what I meant. Like play by the rules. Get your fake card so you can go on the cruise, you go on the flights, and you can operate. That's all I meant.
Yeah, but what happens is that people who don't have the money to get the fake card, right? It's the everyday man who doesn't have $2,000 or a hookup. Right? We have different tiered levels of society, and it's not okay that the people who are here, which most of all of us, right, live off the support of the bottom of the pyramid.
100%.
Right? I make music for working class people because that's who I am. That's what I come from. I've been a janitor. I worked at a dog kennel. I was a bodyguard. I was a door guy, a security guy, whatever. I did anything I could do to make ends meet so I could make my dreams happen. You know what I mean? And so I'm not going to betray the roots that I grew up in and the people who can't afford to game the system like that or don't have the resources, because they're the ones who are going to suffer and die and they don't deserve to.
But how does playing by the rules betray them?
Because if I'm co-signing tyranny by even bending to it a little bit, I become part of the system.
I know, but tyranny and not getting kicked off social media for saying the wrong shit, I don't put those two together. Tyranny, I would stand up and fight with everybody else. Like I'll grab arms.
But it's social conditioning. Social media socially is conditioning people to like what you can and cannot say. Right? Look at Gina Carano.
What happened to her, by the way?
She's doing her own thing. She did a movie with Daily Wire. I think she did two films with Daily
canceled.
Wire.
Like what happened? I didn't know she got canceled.
Gina got canceled from Disney. She was one of the main characters on The Mandalorian, right? And she was canceled because she didn't put her pronouns in her Twitter bio.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah. And then when people were arguing, like when people came after her, like, why don't you have your pronouns? She put droid noises like beep, bop, boop, like to be cute. And someone didn't like it. And someone hired a troll farm and they basically digitally, Frankensteined her.
But do you guys, I mean, for example, I love Gina Carano.
Yeah.
If she was in a movie, I'd go see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Gina Carano. She's not canceled in my mind.
She is canceled because she can't work in the mainstream Hollywood or the mainstream industry because of actually nothing.
Have you seen that video going around with Gene Simmons?
Yes, I reposted it today.
Fucking see, that makes me not like him at all. What do you mean? Like, see, that shit's bullshit.
I mean, it's
the same thing. And then Clooney was right behind him, and so was Sean Penn.
Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger, came out and said, "Screw your freedom." I mean,
Do you think they're being paid or they're just stupid?
I think it's a combination. I think that The Rock had Kamala Harris and Biden on, because he's one of the most influential people. Now, he didn't do that because he's liberal. He did it because the Federal Bureau of Investigation leveraged him and has dirt on him and said, if you don't do this, we're going to put this out there. This is what cancel culture is. This is why it's part of tyranny.
So is he playing by the rules?
Yeah, and I don't respect that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, again, me and you, we're aligned on everything. I just need to figure out what I meant, so I can convince you of what I meant was probably pretty good advice.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand, after we had talked about it after, but I don't agree with it because
in any shape or form.
No, because
and by the way, just remember, all I said was play by the rules.
But the rules they continue to change.
I know, but
so the goalpost is here. You're like, okay, you can't say the F word, and then you're like, okay, you can't say shit. And then, okay, you can't say...
Or what, though? Or what?
Well, they give you a warning, and then they say...
Or don't be on my platform.
Correct.
Right. So, again, I want on that platform. Why? Well, because we can have influence, and we can make money, and we can do good.
Yeah, but we can only have a voice if we're compliant to a religious cult.
But if you believe that, how do you have one currently?
Because I keep making them, because the people support me regardless.
Right. So that's my point.
Yeah.
There's no canceling somebody because there's enough of us that support the fucking Patriots.
I've still lost.
That may be true.
Probably $10 million.
That I don't disagree with.
Yeah.
You will get dinged.
At least $10 million in revenue because people don't know where I am, right? I go to the grocery store. Someone asked me to take a picture. I go to the gym. Someone asked me to take a picture. I get pulled over. Cop asked me to take a picture. Every day of my life, everywhere I go, no matter what country I'm in, somebody recognizes me, right? So the work that I've done can't be undone. But there are people who can say, this guy's not allowed to play music festivals. This guy's not allowed to sign another record deal with any of the other major labels. This guy's not allowed, his voice is not allowed to be heard.
Or anybody hires this guy to be in a movie.
You're fired.
You're done.
You're out of this. You're done. Yeah.
Blackballed.
So that's what they do. Right.
Now take Ian Smith as an example. The only reason I know that dude is because of what he did.
Sure.
And you know, it went viral, and there's a lot of people that support him.
Yeah, of course.
Now,
he did what was necessary.
Right. Now, again, that I would not say, you know, come on, Ian, pay your fines and shut down like they told you to. Play by the rules. Like, no. So that's why I know when you got pissed, I'm like, he's taking it another way because I'm the same as you guys when it comes to that shit. Like, dude, respect like a motherfucker that he would not shut down that gym.
Yeah.
Fine after fine. He's got how many fines?
I don't know.
And did they ever arrest him?
Over $1 million. They didn't have grounds to. So this is part of the tyranny. That's real life tyranny playing itself out.
But now that it's over, you would think they'd drop the charges, drop the fines, stop the bullshit, give them back whatever they took, and say, sorry, we fucked up.
Yeah, but this is what you're saying is exactly why we can't play by the rules, because they will never. What happens with people in power when they're tyrannical and out of control and not in check is they will never give you freedom back. They will never give you anything back. They'll keep moving the goalposts until you're locked in a cell.
So what does the average patriot do?
I mean, really, what I would like to see happen, and again, I can only speak this into existence. There are several billionaires, and I think that they need to come together, and I think there needs to be a push to create another social media platform. And I think there's Rumble, there's Truth, that's fine, but this is the thing, and this is what I will say about conservatism. It's not sexy. Conservatism has no pulse on culture. They have no fucking idea what the youth are like. They are out of touch, completely out of touch. And they also are cheap, right? They're cheap, and they don't understand the power of influence. They want everybody to do things for free. They don't give platform to people of culture. They don't understand why they're losing. They continue to lose because they don't give a voice. You know, they need to be, you know, there's not enough emphasis on the arts, on creativity. And right now, most people just think all artists and all this, that, the other are just in that liberal thing because most of us have been silenced. There's no place or no platform for us to say, hey, we're not okay with all this. We believe this. And, you know, it doesn't matter what race we are, what this, what that, we're Americans. You know what I mean? And so I think True Social was a good idea. And I think that
is that Trump's?
Yeah. And I think that I think what happened with True Social is Elon Musk converting Twitter back into pretty much an open discourse social media platform where there is freedom of speech. Then the value of True Social has gone down, right? Because they don't have the resources and the server space and everything. It's not working as efficiently, and there's not enough people on it.
That's a problem.
You know what I mean? So, and there's also something to be said about branding things where I don't want it to be an echo chamber. I don't agree with, with like the liberal indoctrination, but I don't agree with far rightism. Like, I like common sense. I like the middle. Now, what happened in 2020 was anyone who was not a leftist extremist got pushed into the other lane. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that I voted for Obama twice, right? But you vote, it's like you vote for Trump once and like I'm the black face of white supremacy. You know what I mean? Which is the most bewildering, reverse racist ideology, and these people are, I think that, there's been a mass indoctrination of hive-minded thinking, and it's problematic on both sides.
Do you think it's planned?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, you follow QAnon, I'm sure.
No,
you don't.
I know what it is, but I don't.
I follow it. I don't. I'm not in it. I just
Yeah.
follow it. I follow everybody. I want to see what's going on, and then I make my own
Sure.
hopefully educated, informed opinion. Like QAnon, you know, there was some shit that's like, you know, I'm thinking, dude, if all this is true, there's time machines and fucking, you know, come on. Like you'd think, but
my concern about QAnon is that QAnon is a psyop and that it's run by the left.
That's what I was thinking.
And that it is basically meant to lead the resistance into glorious failure.
And or make us not do anything because
they think that someone's coming to save us.
Someone's coming to save us.
Yeah,
there's no one coming to save us.
Nobody's coming to save us.
And this is what bothers me the most. And that's why I said, what should people do? What could people do? Because what's scary to me is I don't think anybody can do anything other than stand your ground, meaning stand your personal ground. Personal
excellence, right? Andy talks about that a lot.
Is that when I said stand your personal ground? Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, hold the line and
yourself though, because again, you no matter what we say on social media, if they can go click, get the fuck out of here, you're done. You now can't say anything on social media and you're fucked.
Well, it's about real life. It's every single person who showed up to a PTA meeting and said, "I don't want you teaching my kindergarten children about sucking dick." Right?
Unbelievable.
It's insane.
And by the way,
and 2-3 years ago, if you were like, there's an elite group of pedophiles who are fucking trying to indoctrinate children and the public into making pedophilia a normal sex group, why do you think they keep making the rainbow bigger? They keep adding things. You know, now they just added an umbrella for the sex workers and like people who are like, what the fuck? Like how much more is this going to be? It's just edging everyone closer to socially accepting all the people in power who are on that list, on fucking Epstein's flight list, who went to those places, and you start to realize they're caught. So what they have to do is eventually you can't keep a bottle on the truth, and all these people are going to get exposed. So they can use their power of influence to force the entire American public through the school system to accept pedophilia as either a mental disorder or a sexual preference. They won't get lynched to death when the truth gets revealed. That's what they're doing. And it's a simple no. No is a complete sentence. You know?
that it is.
Yeah.
When it comes to pedophilia, dude, I have no tolerance or patience whatsoever. That shit pisses me the fuck off.
No, the people it's like what people don't understand is, I've worked with people and I've been in relationships with people who have been damaged by sexual abuses in childhood, is that you actually assassinate a part of a person's future by abusing them when they're a child. And whatever your issue is, maybe you got abused and you're acting out on this, I don't care. One strike, that's a life sentence to me. I'm sorry. And it's not, you don't get to go to the fancy, like the fancy jail where you have to be separate from everybody else. A lot of the men who are in jail become violent, emotionally, mentally ill criminals because they were also abused. And that's why pedophiles get killed in prison, because they destroy people's souls. And it's unacceptable. It is not something that we've ever tolerated in this country, and no one ever should. And this is why there's been an attack on men, because traditionally men are the ones who protect women and children.
Now because there's got to be men involved in the men being attacked. So like, aren't they like worried about themselves being attacked?
What do you mean?
Like, it's not just a big cabal of women against men. There's men involved.
No, I think
Soros and these guys.
I think that these people, they're master manipulators, and they weaponize and control platforms of media, and they give loud voices to mentally ill women, or women who are disenfranchised, or women who have been injured by men, and maybe they have a personal grudge or a vendetta against a man, and then it becomes their identity because they don't do the work in therapy. And I have compassion for these people. I see feminists and my heart hurts for them, right? Because I've been in relationships where, like, I have been experienced, like we talked about, I've experienced abuse from the hands of my female partner, but I don't hate all women, right? I'll give you a perfect example. When I got falsely accused publicly of domestic violence, about 17 women I had dated over the course of my 40 years of being alive took to social media and posted pictures with us together at the times that we were dating, saying how great I treated them. And so for wherever there is evil, there's always going to be good. And so we can only have, we have to have compassion for these people who are injured and harmed, because hate will only propagate more hate. And what a lot of these women need to understand is like, we need you as much as you need us. And that's how this works. And even in relationships where it's not heteronormative, right? Like I have female friends who are lesbians and I have guy friends who are gay.
Dude, I'm a lesbian.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever you identify as. He got his liquor license. Liquor license. Yeah. Anyway.
But back to TikTok not, being okay. Dude, listen, the other day I jump on my buddy's live just to see what he's talking about. He pulls me in and I make a joke. I said, dude, have you seen the clown that hides from gay people? And
no, I haven't even heard of this.
Well, he hides from gay people.
Okay.
So you might not have seen him.
Okay. Oh, I see what you did there. Okay.
Yeah. So I said that to him.
So you gave him that joke.
I said that and he didn't get it either for a minute. Most people like, I've seen it. Then they're like, but.
Oh, somebody reported you.
He started laughing. And then all of a sudden I got kicked off the live, this TikTok live.
Yeah.
I got kicked off for hateful behavior. And then he got fucking suspended for a week for hateful behavior. And all I said was the word gay. And then I even said, is gay a bad word? Like, aren't gay people, don't they say they're gay?
Yeah.
Like gay's not offensive, is it?
Yeah.
So why if I say gay, that's offensive?
Because everyone's a fucking pussy.
At the end of the day, dude, that's what the world's coming to. And I need to figure out how to fix that shit.
My old guitar player is gay, and we actually just did a couple songs together, and we were talking, and he's like, he's gay. And he's like, Tommy, he's like, everyone's just a faggot now. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, everyone's a pussy. He's like, you can't, he's like, I'm gay and I can't even say that. And I'm like,
that makes no sense though. Just like the Marines,
but it's
about to
speech.
But Marines are getting rid of the word sir or ma'am. Did you see that?
Yeah, but this is part of the demoralization.
Who's voting?
No one's voting.
So how are they doing it?
Do you think elections are real? You want to talk about a bomb dropping? You think that the 2020 election is legitimate? You think Joe Biden is a legitimate president?
I do not.
Do you think that Carrie Lake lost in Arizona?
I love Carrie.
Yeah,
I had her on the podcast. She should have won by a landslide, and I'll bet you she did.
I guarantee she did. You think that?
So how come people aren't going to jail, dude?
Because how can you go to jail?
What do you mean? You know Sheriff Mark Lamb?
No.
You don't know Sheriff Lamb?
No.
Patriot.
All right.
Dude, how come he don't go arrest people? He's a cop. He knows the bullshit's going on.
Because you can't just arrest people if you can't get a conviction. The district attorneys and the judges are bought and paid for. That's
by whom?
George Soros.
So let's get these. Dude, he don't have more money than collectively a bunch of billionaires that are patriots.
Yeah, but if he has all of them in his back pocket, who's going to stop? Like, that's the thing. You can't. How do you? Basically, it's a money thing. Right. So you can, if you want to fight this system, you want to unbuy judges and unbuy district attorneys to the highest bidder. Then this guy, he knows the banks. They'll print him more money. Where's all the money? How much money are we going to give to Ukraine?
See, that's another thing. Like, ask me about Ukraine.
I just did. Tell me what you think about Ukraine.
I think we should not fuck with Ukraine. I think literally, and again, well, Brad, listen. We have people hungry here.
Who owns Ukraine? Who owns that country?
I don't know.
George Soros.
Here's what I do know.
2004.
Until our country is figured out, why were we bothered over there? Like in other words, that's their business.
Because
just like if you and Andy Frisella started fighting, I'd be like, damn, like it's not my business.
But what's happening is that our government is once again, so the tax money laundering scheme.
That's what it is.
Through the pharmaceutical company happened, and it was the biggest. There was several of the biggest redistributions of wealth in American history happened over the last couple of years. One would be during COVID, where People like, Amazon and all these other companies had
Fleeced
everything
us.
skyrocketed. Same thing with even social media, because everybody was on the platform. So advertising became more. The economy was still okay, and they were giving out money and cutting checks, and so people people were still spending. Weed is legal, and it became an essential business in multiple states where you couldn't go to church, but you could get drugs.
Liquor store was essential.
Yeah, of course, because you know what would happen if you weren't allowed to go get booze, people would start flipping the fuck out, right?
Lines around the fucking block at Louis Vuitton,
But
Chanel.
they didn't let people fucking go to church. The strip clubs opened in Orange County before the churches were allowed to congregate, and the mosques, and of all religions.
So this is what I don't get. Everybody can see that. Why can nobody do anything about it?
It's because we have low testosterone in this country, and people are not outraged to the point where they're ready to engage in revolutionary behavior, right? To get back to Ukraine, what I believe is happening is I believe that they're sending, now we're at $140 billion to Ukraine. Now, what do we know? That Zelensky put a lot of that money initially from the first 90 billion into FTX, which went belly up. Who had a lot of stock in FTX? Our politicians, right? The same guy also, what's his name? Baird, whatever his name is. He got 3 names. Sam Friedman. Yeah, he gave $50 million to Joe Biden's campaign. Because
see, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
if you understand the mob, right? Like, I grew up around that. If you want to ensure amnesty, you pay a tax, and it's a large tax. So basically, if you have $100 million and you go give it to the Democrats, you'll never go to jail. Nothing will ever happen to you. You will never have consequence.
Because why are the Democrats so powerful?
Because the Democrats aren't really Democrats. The Democratic Party has been dissolved, and there is a fucking globalist, one world unified communist mentality that is based off China that they want to implement on a global standpoint.
How long do you think we've got?
They say 2030. They say it. They have books about it. You could read the books. Klaus Schwab is out there. They're talking about this. They want to defund the police. These things sound like tinfoil hat ideas, but I'm 30 for 30. They want to defund the police, and this whole imposition of police being racist and ridiculousness is because they want to implement AI. They want artificial intelligent robots policing citizens because they will kill people without any moral compass just based on the fucking digital commands by the elites. You will not be able to find a military group that what they plan to do to humanity is so evil that no security, no military personnel, no police officer will protect them from. So they have to make this transition into having robot protection, which means making us slowly psychologically accept into the fact that this is a normal part of society.
But that can't happen in 8 years.
In San Francisco, they just made a law that the police are now legally allowed to use AI with lethal force. It's already happening. So am I crazy, or do I read the news? This shit was on CNN. It's not new. That's their channel. They're telling you what they're doing, and that's part of their religion.
So do you think one day that it'll be time to grab your weapons and head for the streets?
I don't know.
Head for the hills.
I don't think this is the thing. The iPhone 14X Pro just came out, right? Bro, they have iPhone 50. The technology that is kept from us is so far advanced, we can't even begin to conceive. And they have to roll it out slowly over time. Otherwise, we'll understand what they're going to use it for and be afraid of it. So if there was going to be some civil war, it would be humanity. It would be 99% of humanity versus 1%, but the 1% will be armed with a sophisticated version of technology that I don't know how we could win.
So what do you do?
I don't know. You have to basically, what I'm doing. All I could say is what I'm doing. I'm literally, I'll give you a little bit backstory on this. When I got murdered, right, in 2010, I got killed in a home invasion, right? My place was broken into. I was beaten to death with a crowbar, fractured skull, my spleen ruptured, broke my arm, beat my ass, and I died in the ER. And, before I had my near-death experience and transferred over, I saw a highlight reel of my entire life. My whole life flashed before my eyes. And I didn't see any arguments. There was no beef, there was no negativity. It was the most beautiful moments that I had experienced on this planet. And that was what I saw before I went to the place. And I'm trying to make sure that, because I'm going to die someday, we're all going to die. I'm trying to make sure that the next time that highlight reel plays, it's the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's what everyone has to do. You have to live every single day and every single moment like you could die tomorrow. Is that another bomb?
Indeed.
Yeah. And it's,
that's what I preach right there.
Yeah. And
because we're all going to die.
And you don't get to take this stuff with you. And I was listening to the Wes Watson. He's like, it's like, yeah, it is about money, this, that, the, and it's like, there are things that are more important than, money. Right?
Sure there are.
Money is a part of the matrix system. It's not even real, right? It's magic. It's actually black magic, right? A lot of people don't know about this. People don't understand the power of the collective human consciousness. And this is another reason why things that I talk about, it's not, I get a lot of resistance because what I do is I give away the spiritual truth for free. Because I believe that I was given that gift, and I was literally told when I was dead that I wasn't done with my mission, and they sent me back. And
well, let's talk a little more about when you die, because I want to know about the experience.
Yeah.
So did you see, white light or anything?
Yeah, I experienced a kaleidoscope, sort of tunnel, and then I passed through, and I was in this place, and everything was white. And I will say that I felt the presence of God in a way, imagine how much you love your kids and your wife, and then multiply that by infinity. And that's how much God loves us. And, there's no race in God's kingdom. There's no gender. Everything going on in the separatist culture of humanity on this planet is literally the antithesis of God's will and what happens to us when we go back to our purest form. I like what David Icke says. He talks about each and every one of us are actually a manifestation of God's will, having an individual experience in a human form while we're here, and then transferring back to the source. And when I was on the other side, I felt like my whole life was a dream. It felt like I took a nap, right? Your soul, mine, whatever. We've been around for thousands of years. And that's another reason why I'm not afraid, right? I know, everyone, not everyone can be in this life on this planet fulfilling their purpose at the same time. And so there are different revolutionary turns that our souls take, and people come back. And I believe that people get reincarnated, and it's a choice. And they say babies cry because when they're born, they forget their eternal selves, and they have to start all over again. And then when you die, you immediately remember who you are. So my relationship with myself is none of this. It's a shell. It's a vessel and a vehicle, right? So
are you afraid to die?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't be if I saw that.
No.
A lot of people are afraid to die.
I'm afraid to die in a plane crash.
Well, shit, dude.
Because that's your entire nervous system is you have no control, and boom, you know what I mean? But I'm not afraid to die in a hail of gunfire. I'm not afraid to die of being sick. I was never afraid of COVID. I'm not afraid to be canceled. I can't be threatened. I've been murdered. I've been canceled from being alive, and I'm still here, right? So by that principle, all the manipulative, abusive tactics that these people try to do in this worldly place don't work on me. I know that money's not real. It's the collective human consciousness that makes it real. There's not another animal on the planet that pays to live in their den or in their nest. They don't pay money. No animal pays taxes. Everything we're living in is a fraudulent system of checks and balances that serve a secret elite family, that these families have been running shit for 1,000 years, if not longer, right? And we're not also given all the same religions. These people believe in a religion that you don't know about.
Maybe it's Satanism.
Well, it's older than that, right? Because you have the New Testament and the Old Testament, and you know there's older texts. Balenciaga just came out and got reamed, and you were just talking about who owns them. Was it Kering or something? Now, Balenciaga in Latin means Baal is king. Who is Baal?
Another way of saying deity.
Well, Baal is a Canaanite pagan god of weather, and the pagans would sacrifice children to this deity for good favor in weather or whatever, and for power on earth. Now, when the Israelites exodused from Egypt and settled where Israel is now, they were living amongst the Canaanites and Mennonites. Now, in the Torah, they describe the Israelites that assimilated to the Canaanites' religion as the fallen Israelites after Jacob died. And they began to worship this deity. And that religion did not end. It's still going on. And there are hints of it here and there, right there, because part of their religion is they have to show you who they are in plain sight, because God has given us free will. They cannot actually take and they can't impose their will over you, because there's spiritual consequence for that. But if they can convince you to surrender your free will, as we saw during COVID, as we've seen in the like the acceptance of fake leaders, as it's happening globally. It's not just America. You look at what's going on with Bolsonaro in Brazil. This is part of what the cabal is doing. And I'm too deep in it. Like, you know, there's so much knowledge and so much information when you go and study history and you start breaking down, and it's not on the internet. Like, I just went to Europe. I went to Europe for 5 weeks. I went to Sweden, London. I took my mother to Denmark, and I went to Berlin. And I had, you know, a fan who's a curator at the Holocaust Museum and the Berlin Wall Museum. And I want real history. So I start reading all this shit. I go to these places. I look this stuff up. I'm like a sponge. And then you start understanding what our understanding of the major religions, they've been edited. The Bible's been edited. There are massive parts of the Bible where you know, we were taught how to fight spiritual abduction, right? Spiritual influence, negative spiritual energy, because there's probably, if you think of existence or the nature of life in terms of like a plane of existence, if we're in a third dimension, then there's a fourth and a fifth and whatever. Now, if God lives in the infinite, and when we transfer over and we go to the fifth dimension, there's still a fourth dimension, and the lower fourth dimension is a low vibrational energy that, you know, if there's darkness, there has to be light. But if there's light, there also has to be dark. So I think a lot of people through social media have been psychologically and spiritually hijacked with fear, because once you're in a fear state, your vibrational energy is lower. And when your vibrational energy is lower, you're more susceptible to spiritual influence from negativity. And it can come from people. It can, you know, we call a lot of things mental illness.
What religion would you say you are?
I mean, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, but I don't ascribe to a church per se, or, you know what I mean, a specific sect.
I always say I'm a Chrishislam.
A Chrishislam?
Yeah, because it's just a mix between Christian and Muslim.
Okay.
Because if you read the Quran, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean the Torah too.
Torah too. So I'm a Chrishislam Jew.
There you go.
But to me, I think there's one source of truth, and I think it was perverted and went to all these current ones.
Yeah.
But like, for example, Jesus Christ wasn't his name. Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yeah. I
have a whole thing on it. You can look that up. His name was Yeshua. Mm-hmm. So that translates now to Joshua. So people say, well, it's translated. No. Then they would all be Jesus's. Mm-hmm. They changed his name because when they turned it into Greek, they wanted to, try and get these people to understand, and they changed the name, period. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at some of the scripture, it says, matter of fact, in Revelation, it says, now this isn't Jesus talking, this is the big guy, which his name is Yahweh or Yahuwah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
which isn't it in Yiddish? It means was, is, and always will be. I think something like that.
I know it's YHWH originally, but whether it's Yahweh or Yahuwah or Yahweh, that's pronunciation, but that's his name. And he literally said in Revelations, I'll find it and text you, your children's children, basically us, will forget my name for Baal, Baal. And that's what we're doing.
Interesting.
And then one of the commandments is don't take the Lord's name in vain. Well, vain actually means useless, meaningless. So how much more meaningless can you make a name by not using it? Yeah. Nobody calls him Yeshua. Nobody calls him Yahshua. Yeshua, whatever you want to say. That's pronunciation.
Jimmy Levy does. You got to check. I'll send you some of Jimmy's stuff. He's an amazing singer, and he's like a spiritual activist.
Well, then Jimmy knows, because let me tell you something.
Yeah, he's very.
I tell people this, and I get tons of shit for that. But in my mind, dude, I'm helping people. Why? Because just imagine you go up, you die, and you walk up there, and they're like, "Who are you here to see?" And you say, "I'm here to see Jesus, my Lord and Savior." And they're like, "Who?" Because like if you know somebody, you'll know his name.
Yeah.
What if I tried to tell you I know Andy Frisella? I mean, me and him are buddies, but I was calling him Arnold Frisella.
Yeah.
You'd be like, who? I'd say, Arnold. Well, I mean, he knows who I'm talking about. No. You'd say you don't really know him very well if you don't know his real name.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that there's a lot of investment in that. If you look at what's happened in the Vatican over the last couple of decades, it gets real weird in there. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. It's like I see a lot of anti-Christian
100%
things, which would, signify that, perhaps these people are not praying to the same or answering to the same source that we are, do I think it's as simple as like people are like, it's Satan and the devil? And I think it's naivety to just label it that, because what is going on is much older than that and much more arcane and a lot darker than the, Christian version of the devil and the serpent in the garden. And it's like, it's gnarly, I have some friends who are trans, and we were talking about this kind of forced imposition of convincing children that they should transition, and the direct correlation with the worship of, what is it? The goat head, the Luciferian. Baphomet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Baphomet.
Who has both male and female parts and a goat head, right? And, these people hate Christianity. They hate Judaism. They hate Muslims. They hate the worship of God, because they despise the creator, because they feel entitled to share in the power of that creation. But they can't create. If you notice, these people only can mimic and control. They actually don't have the gift. That's why they attack artists. They try to attack the creative people who've been given God's gift, because some of us have been bestowed. all the singers that are out here shucking and jiving for this nonsense, this woke ideological agenda. Why is that? Right? You read the Bible and you're like, well, who was Lucifer? He was the head of the choir. He was the most beautiful angel with the most radiant voice who led God's choir, and they were cast down. Right? So obviously, who are they going to want to control? Singing was, they say that we were given voices to sing so that we could worship him, that we could worship God through our voices. That's why some of the most, whatever religious music, it doesn't matter what kind of religious music it is, it'll bring you to tears. You don't even need to know what they're saying. You're just like, oh, this person's talking about like the all-knowing, all-loving creator. And it resonates in every single person as truth, because we can't, because like I said, you're in a body, you're just in a car, right? Your body is a car. You're just in it right now. And you got like a 90-year lease on it, if at best. And when the car crashes or kills over and fucking the battery dies and the whole thing falls apart, you just get out. And you hop the bus to the destination.
Do you think if everybody knew that for a fact, that there'd be a lot more suicides?
No, I don't think.
Like if I knew, I would just go home and it's way better and everything's beautiful and everything. I'd be like, dude, peace out. I'll see you up there.
No, I don't think so, because what happens is that, suicides get caught in a loop, right? Like I had an attempted suicide. So after I testified against my brother, he got 20 years in prison. And
do you think he's going to be pissed when he gets out?
Yeah. My brother is tortured. He writes murder letters to my mother and stuff. And
but they're not going to let him out then, will they?
We'll see.
Not if he's writing murder letters.
When the day comes, when I've learned, if I've learned anything about life and death, is that at the moment of commitment, the universe will always conspire in your favor if you are righteous of heart. So, yeah. So I'm not scared. I'm not too worried. But I think that if you commit suicide, you get put into a loop, and that's a purgatorial loop. Now I only think this because I talked to other NDEs, near-death experience people, who had near-death experiences from suicide, and they saw nothing.
Do you know that I died at 2 years old?
No, I didn't know that. Well, what was your experience?
I don't even remember doing it.
Oh. What about the people who are around you?
What about them?
Like who witnessed this?
My dad, my stepmom. They came home. I got under the sink, drank turpentine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's poison.
Yeah, of course.
And so they walked in. I was basically lifeless on the floor. They rushed me to the hospital. The doctors came out, believe it or not, and told my dad to sit down. They'll find a doctor. He was freaking out, understandably.
Yeah.
And they said, have patience. They told him to have some patience. And he basically said, go fuck yourself, kicked in the doors, screaming. Doctor came over, obviously revived me. But I was dead.
Yeah.
According to them. But I don't remember it.
You don't have any memories?
I was 2.
Well, so I've done some research into this. Some little kids have near-death experiences, and they remember their other life, their previous life. There's a kid who I am
psychic, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that'll happen to you. Like Zoltan from Five Finger Death Punch, when we were touring together, he told me this story. When he was a kid, he got hit by a truck on his bike, and he was like in the snow, looking at the car, and then his body was there, and he was like, "Oh shit, bro!" And it freaked him out. And then I guess he jumped back in his body. But he's had I've talked to a lot of people who have had really weird experiences with this stuff.
Do you think everyone has a soul?
I would like to believe that, but I do think that potentially there are NPCs in this third three-dimensional reality that are not really, they're just arbitrarily vacant humanoids. Yeah, essentially.
Well, think of it like this. I saw something the other day. I thought, man, this is good. Everybody doesn't have a soul. Everybody is a soul. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a body. Mm-hmm. Made me go, damn, that's pretty deep right there.
Yeah.
Like I am a soul. I don't have a soul.
Yeah,
I
you
am
have
a
a
soul.
body.
I have a body.
Yeah, that's what goes back to like how we're really a lot older than our human life form.
Well, I'm hoping, bro. I'm hoping because I'm getting old. Like I'm 53, dude. I only have 37 years left if I'm lucky.
Yeah, but why are you counting down? You can live in infinity in a moment's time at any given time.
Well, hey, I'm trying, but all I know is like, Scripture says, "Seek and ye shall find," and seek is not follow and listen. Like listen to what he said. That's not seeking. Seeking is look for yourself. So I'm looking, and that's where I discovered number one, the Jesus phenomenon, which is that's not his name, and nobody wants to seem to use his name. And then he says, don't forget my name and don't make it meaningless, which is a direct violation of a commandment, which by the way, the commandment wasn't Yahshua who gave it to us. It was Yahuwah or Yahweh. And it just goes deeper and deeper. And then there are scripture that's omitted from the Bible. It has been edited and revised, and people are hiding that. And the Catholics in the very beginning, which they base the whole Roman Catholic Church on. Yeah, you start to go, man, what's real?
Well, the Romans, the Roman Empire destroyed so much historical text during their empire because they wanted to maintain control. Right? There was so many different corners of the world where there had been recorded history that they basically it's got to go. And they basically kept the information that was able. This is the other thing too. There's always been a constant struggle of those in power keeping the public from having knowledge. Now you gotta understand, through the course of humanity, people who could read, that was a privilege. Only the special were taught how to read. Women were not allowed to know how to read. You know what I mean? And so, because knowledge is power, right? And that's another reason that goes back to the internet. We are not allowed to have public discourse, and we are not allowed to communicate spiritual truths or ideological antipathy to the ruling class elite's idea of what the future is going to be, because if everyone starts to wake up to what's going on, they will have absolutely no control. And that is the solution. The solution to all of this is everyone agreeing we're not going to have this.
And that's why it never is going to work.
Yeah. Well,
because there is no we.
Well, there is a we.
But there isn't.
Well, I've stood, I'll say this. Right.
We don't communicate anymore, which means they're not there. Meaning, so for example, you take government. Okay, I can call a meeting right now in government. I can bring in all the senators and representatives, and I can say, okay, everybody, here's what we think. And they say, yes, document, rubber stamp, signed into law. Now the people, which is the people are out there. They just live with it. Why? Because we all got together and said this, and you elected us, so that's why that's law.
But we haven't elected them.
I know. Well, someone did.
Many of them.
But my point is now you come out to the we, because I'm out in that group too, and we don't communicate. We can't have a meeting and say we've all decided. So like, if there was a software that literally got all of our opinions and it was authenticated and trusted somehow, then we would have a voice again. Why? Because right now, if I said, hey guys, let's get rid of all 535 representatives right now and just hold a brand new special election. Let's just get brand new people with no political history in their past. I'll bet you so many people would agree to that.
Most of the country would.
Yeah. No more lobbying. Most people would agree to that.
Well, here's
but we can't break it because the fuckers are guarding the hen house. Well, we cannot communicate and document that we have.
But this is all it takes is assembly. This is why we have right to assembly. This is why they did not. COVID was such an important imposition to launch during the 2020 election, because people could not get together and talk about what was going on. And if you have people in real life talking to each other about what's going on, they can't, the veil of the internet influence of the psychological psyop falls to pieces. So the more that people communicate in real time, right? Like I'll give you an example. You're familiar with the saying, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the judgment that something else is more important. And I've taken this principle and gone on stages in arena and said, hey, I'm an attempted suicide survivor. Has anybody else in here attempted to commit suicide or thought about suicide or hurting themselves at any point in time in their life. 10,000 people in an arena, 80% put their hand up. And I say, look at all these hands. Understand you're not alone. And that if you need to hear from somebody today, I need you to be here because I can't do this life thing alone. Human beings are not meant to be alone.
That's fact.
When you see, I have had the profound experience and the privilege of standing in front of hundreds of thousands of people and telling the truth in between playing rock songs. And the profound experience that it has, not only cleansing me of my terminal uniqueness, right? Because what happens is that when you've been through a lot of trauma and life has hit you with all these things, you could start to feel like, why do these things happen to me? But when you take those things like you have and other people like we know and transform them into meaning and into fuel, what happens is all those things, they happen for me. And when these things happen for me, it gives me a platform and it creates an ability for me to speak to every person who might be going through this and let them know that they're not alone. Now, if everyone starts to realize that they're not alone in their thoughts and feelings about the current state of the world, the current state of the nation, of everyone's individual nation, the collective direction that 1% of humanity is trying to take billions of people and push them into, you got a revolution. And it's not a hateful one. It's a love revolution. No shots need to be fired. No axes need to be grinded. No debts need to be paid. It's just the common mass organized acknowledgement that we will not do this anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. You guys had your fun. You had a great run at it. Thank you for sharing. Have a nice night.
Is there ever a time for violence?
When your life is threatened, yes. When your family is threatened,
like, dude, if they came door to door forcing vaccinations, like the people were saying, they're going to go door to door. I'm like, let's fucking see someone come to my house. I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care if you're the government. I don't care if you're the cops. I don't care who you are. You come to my house and force vaccinations, dude, I'm going out in a blaze of glory.
But do you know why you have the ability to do that? Because the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is there in case the first one doesn't work. Don't ever forget that the first is the most important, because freedom of speech is the thing that keeps us from having to use the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but who keeps changing the rules? Like woke Stanford University is coming out with words that are no longer acceptable.
Yeah, but
one of them is American. You're not supposed to say you're American. You're supposed to say U.S. citizen because it might piss someone else off. But you cannot say insane anymore. Yeah, because that might hurt somebody that has mental health issues. It's like, fuck, where does it end?
But this is the thing. The changing of language is part of the control of culture. This is why the right are losing, because they don't understand that there needs to be a foothold on, no, we're not going to change this. We're not going to redefine what reality means. We're not going to say that I'm a pumpkin because I feel orange today. We're not, you know what I mean? Like this whole fantasy basically puts people in a state of suspension of disbelief. So if they can get you, this is about self-respect, right? David Icke talks about this too. If I can get you to believe something that's not real and you go along with it and you know that it's not real, but you just go along with it because you don't want the consequences of being bothered, you lost your dignity.
Yeah, but see,
you lost your self-respect.
And that's what I think you thought when I said play by the rules.
Well, that's why I won't play by the rules.
But I mean, I know, but that's not what I meant.
I know.
I would say don't fucking do that, what you just said.
But what I am saying is that by playing by the rules of the cult, right, this is a religion.
Yeah, but let's say for example, you threw a party. And man, everybody knows Tommy's parties are fucking off the chain. Mm-hmm. And you say, Brad, come over to my house. And I say, okay. And I'm coming over. Girls everywhere. That fucking party's popping. Mm-hmm. And you say, dude, stay here as long as you like. And I say, thanks, man. And then you say, but do me a favor. Don't go in this room and don't put your feet on the couch. Well, then I'm not going to go in that room and I'm not going to put my fucking feet on the couch. Or
here's the thing.
Or if that meant harm, then I'd leave your party. I'd say fuck your party and I wouldn't be involved in your party.
But I think that what you're I think that your perception of the rules of social media are benign and not malignant. They're very malignant, and they're intentionally malignant, right? It's not about, it's like if I invite you to my house for a party and I'm like, listen, while you're here, you have to pretend that you're a terrorist because these are all terrorists. And if they find out you're not a terrorist, they're going to fucking kill you.
Well, then I'd probably pretend that I was a terrorist.
Well, you probably
and
wouldn't,
try and figure out how to,
or you wouldn't go to the party.
One of the two.
Yeah. So we're in this situation.
But that's playing by the rules.
But we're in this situation where social media is not a party. It's a utility company. And this is the reality. There are laws that protect people no matter what their beliefs are, right? Whether they're a neo-Nazi or whether they're Muslim or whether they're Chinese or whatever country they come from, you can't turn their electricity off because of their beliefs. You can't turn their water off because these are utility products that you need to survive. Social media has evolved into, if you want to date, how do you meet people without social media or dating apps?
Dude, you go out.
How do you do? Listen to me.
You can get a date without social media.
I'm just giving you an example of where things have gone. Yeah, you and I can.
Anyone
sure.
can.
No, that's not true. People don't know where to meet people. They move to a new city. Listen, I'm telling you, we have morphed into a society that is completely dependent on social interactions through the digital universe. So if I want to send you money, I'm going to use PayPal or Venmo, right? I'm not going to like go do a bank transfer unless it's X amount of dollars, right? If I got to send you fucking $50 for lunch, I'm going to use a social media app. Right? These apps, they'll turn them off. They kick people off of them. They demonetize you for your beliefs.
Well, when you see this shit in China where they're like, social credit scores and stuff, is that real? Like, yeah. I've never been to China.
Yeah, it's real. And that's the model that the globalists want to have, right? Like the other issue too is like, if you want to talk about climate change is a natural occurring phenomenon. One thing I did really get into as a kid was paleontology. So I studied some paleontology and paleobotany for like years. I'm the kind of person who I would hide out in the planetarium and read. We've had like 6 ice ages. The planet, our temperature of the planet is directly correlated to sunspotting. So how frequently the sun has solar flares bases, how hot the planet is. Now, we don't control the sun. Our pollution doesn't control the sun, right? And then also, if you look at America, if you look at who pollutes the most, we're like one of the least pollutant nations on the planet. But still, they want to give us a carbon tax, and it's because we have the economy to tax into nothingness. China commits absolute genocidal atrocities against whales. They are responsible for the fucking plastic garbage islands in the middle of the ocean because they drop their fishing nets. They just disband their plastic fishing nets. They engage in dragging, which is where these massive weights are dropped to the bottom of the ocean floor, and they just scrape it up and take everything that's in there. And, whatever they don't use, they just throw the dead animals back into the sea. So they don't have any of these sanctions, and they don't have any of these taxes or anything like that because they're unstoppable, because the rest of the Western world is too dependent on their cheap labor. So they don't sanction them. The whole global warming thing is a scam to tax people and control you more. They want to tax you if you drive too far in your car. They're going to tax you if you use too much heat. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Why? Because it's all about making sure that there is no more American dream, that there is no way to jump class systems. That's what taxing is. We look at what we're paying taxes multiple times. I pay taxes, then I go buy something, and I pay the government more money to buy stuff with my money that's already been taxed.
And if you give me your money, I got to pay tax on the money you gave me that was already taxed.
You can't even gift people. You know what I mean? Who are we paying this to? Income tax started after World War II. It was supposed to last a couple years till we got back on our feet. We're clowns, bro.
We're definitely
We're
sheep.
fucking clowns. No, we're a fucking clown universe. Okay? In 1776, 3% of the population of 18 to 22-year-old boys slaughtered the biggest military force on the planet to instill
Britain?
Yeah, to instill our sovereignty as a nation. 18-year-old boys right now think they're girls. What the fuck's going on?
Not all
people,
of them.
I'm just saying, but people don't even know who they are. And this
That's
is a
in the
mass
schools,
manipulation.
That's in the schools.
It's schools and it's social media.
We took our kids out of private school, and I hired a teacher that was just as pissed off as we were with the shit they're teaching kids. And they're, we'll put them in a private school. Fuck, private schools are doing it too.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
But
there are books in there for third graders that are talking about sucking dick.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
Why a third grader?
Well, another way to fight this is having co-occurring economies, right? Like, there's a space for an education system that is privatized and affordable. That's based off donation, right? Why isn't that? Those are the things that should be popping up left and right. You talk about how many parents want to pull their kids out of school but can't because they got to work or they can't, you know what I mean? There's plenty of room for very wealthy people to become more wealthy by creating a co-occurring education system, even a collegiate education system where they're not going to indoctrinate people and they're going to teach traditional Judeo-Christian values and American values. There's a lot of solutions, but it starts with refusing to comply. You know, people, there's so much space for investment in everything that already exists. They ruined it.
Well, but where do you draw the line? Because you start to get people refusing to comply. Then they allow that to, seep into other shit where they should comply. Like, in other words,
like what?
Like, rules are fucking rules, dude. Like you can't go around beating people up. Like, that's against fucking law.
But no one's saying that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is it will eventually, when you tell people, hey, don't comply, then the idiots won't know which one to not comply with. Like, I didn't comply with the fucking mask mandates.
But
guess what?
Non-compliance.
But when I needed to fly somewhere and I knew they're not going to let you fly without a mask, well, then I'll put your fucking stupid mask on.
Sure.
So I played by the rules so I can get to fucking wherever I'm going. Now, when I got back, fuck these masks. And when the restaurant said, you need a mask, I'd say, fuck you in your restaurant. I wouldn't wear a mask.
Yeah.
But I would wear a mask if I had to fly somewhere. Why? Because in my mind, you're dumb if you don't play by the fucking rules so you can navigate this bullshit system, get enough where when shit hits the fan, which I think is going to.
Well, it's strength in numbers.
You've got enough resources to fucking survive. Because here's what's happening in my mind. They're separating the rich from the poor, and they don't want a bunch of rich, but it's happening. And so eventually it's everybody's going to be poor or you're going to be rich. And I want to be on this side of the motherfucker.
Sure.
I do not want to be over here.
Sure. But so I'll give you an example of this. So Allison Rage is one of my friends. She's now works for, I think, OAN or Newsmax. She's an anchor, but she started as a social media personality. She's been deleted 100 times. She started doing maskless flash mobs in LA, and it was very simple. They would get 20, 30 people to go grocery shopping, and one person would take off a mask, and then someone would be like, hey, you need to put a mask on, and then the next person would be like, no, you leave her alone, like, we don't need these anymore. And then all of a sudden 20 people will be like, no, we're not wearing masks, and they're like, everyone needs to leave the store, blah, blah, and then eventually what happens is that the authority is lost, and the grocery stores actually abandoned the mask mandates because the people took a stand. Now, they didn't know everyone agreed to do this. It was a science experiment.
But what if the mask did work?
Yeah, but this was, what do you mean?
What if the masks actually were the answer, which we know they're not, but let's pretend they were.
But this was past the point of the fear porn and the fear campaign.
I want to let a few people understand, because there's some people who will probably not listen to this. Everyone listening to this is on our team.
Sure.
I guarantee you. If there's any lefties listening to me, I'll be surprised. But if the mask worked, like legit, Well, then I'd wear a fucking mask. Why? Well, because I care about you, and I don't want to get everybody fucking sick. And we're not saying don't wear a mask, don't comply just to be rebellious. It's because...
Well, it's about doing your own research, right? So there was like, when it first happened, I wore a mask. They had me for a couple of weeks. Then it was like, then Fauci was like, you don't need a mask, but then you do need it. It was like, well, we don't have enough masks for the workers, so you don't need a mask. And then it was like, no, we do need a mask.
They got you for a couple?
Yeah.
They never got me once. Now, hold on. When I went home, I shut this place down like they told me to, but I went home. And by the way, I'm a media company. That's essential. I could have fucking stayed open, but hey, I don't want everybody sick. I don't want everybody dying. And quite frankly, where they got me is I thought, dude, it was going to be way worse than they were saying. I thought, because I saw fucking armored trucks carrying cash out of the casinos. That's never happened. Yeah. They were shutting this city down, dude. It was empty. It was over. And that's never happened. And I thought, fuck, dude, we're all going to die if, and they don't want to panic us. So they're telling us, oh, don't worry, go home, wear a mask, but no, we're fucked. So I went home. I told everybody, go home, lock down. And that's how they got me.
Yeah. But after that was responsible. That was the magic of what happened. We all we're like, oh yeah, like, no, we can't have this. We've seen the movies. We've seen Outbreak. We've seen Contagion. I don't want my fucking family to die. I don't want your family to die. I had a friend who was like, he had a condition, and we would trade our friends. He would not come out of the house for 18 months, and he was at risk. So we would get his groceries for him and drop him off with like the whole thing. Put him on his porch. He would be like, all right, see you guys later, and then come get his groceries. And he was vegan, and he was like allergic to vanilla and all this. So it was like not easy to shop for him, but it's like, that's my brother and I love him. So I do what needs to be done. I had elderly neighbors who were scared to go to the grocery store. And every time I went to go get something, I would get their stuff and leave the bag on the porch. That's all. People started out like this. It's what happened was after the 2 weeks, then it was another 2 weeks, and then people with critical thinking started to get suspicious, right? Then I was like going for walks outside because the gym was closed and my attorney was overweight, and I was like, I'll help you lose weight and we'll fucking walk 2 or 3 miles. And I'd see on the news that UCLA Medical was swamped and they were carting dead bodies and putting freezer trucks. And I'd walk by there in person every day and there'd be nobody there.
That's what I did down here.
Yeah. And you know what I did? I checked myself into the ER with a fucking bladder infection to investigate what was going on. And I interrogated my nurse till she broke down and said, we have had no COVID patients here. No one has had COVID here. I don't know what's going on. Everybody's confused. The news is lying. I can't say anything else.
Well, I did the same with this hospital, and that's when I started going, wait a minute. Something ain't right here. Because they said that hospitals were overwhelmed. There's one right down by my house. I'd drive in there. I didn't check myself in. I just drove by. It's not overwhelmed. But the news was saying it was overwhelmed. I'm like, this is weird. It was, dude, the news was CNN. And by the way, I got on fucking social media and I said it. I said, these fucking hospitals aren't packed.
Oh, yeah. We were all doing it.
I said, this is bullshit. But they never canceled me.
Well, because it didn't start yet. They didn't anticipate that people with platforms were going to start. So the protocol was developed over time as more people started popping off.
And they suppressed the shit out of me, by the way. Because like 2 years ago, dude, I was picking up 2,000-3,000 new followers a day. It was starting to crank.
There are 450 fake Tommy Vext profiles.
Well, when I started saying
I have to block
some shit,
them constantly.
It went brrr.
Yeah.
And I went down to like losing people. Yeah. I was losing followers.
They unfollow like I've lost like 2,000 followers in the last couple of weeks because I've said some shit. But people come back.
It's probably because you said something about me, dude. People don't like that shit. That's what it is.
You got a lot of fucking heat. No, it's not. It's not real people unfollowing me. The actual platform will just unfollow people who follow me. And then they're like, yo, bro, I was looking for your page and I realized I didn't even unfollow you. And I'm like, yeah, Instagram is...
They make you hard to find. That's a fact. Because I was looking for you the other day and I couldn't find you. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Dude, because I know too much shit. I say too much. I am absolutely fearless. I cannot be controlled. I know what's going on. Like, and I'm not, it's like, I'm not that smart. What I have is a network of people who fucking give me information.
Well, all I want to know is what should people do? Because again, like
they should live their life to the best of their ability.
I agree with that.
They should look for we collectively have to look for, seek out each other, right? Could and would if you were sought, right? We have to seek each other out now because God is within us, and we need to create strong communities, and we need to have strong leadership, and we have to have boundaries again. And we have to say we're not willing to go along with this. And if that means that we are not going to participate financially in your bullshit, sure, then I'm going to cancel Disney Plus, and I'm not going to use Netflix, and I'm going to fucking go over here instead of going over there. And
how far will you take that though?
I mean, it just depends on how far they go.
I mean, are you prepared to snatch up a girl and head off to the mountains and get off grid and you don't get to participate?
No, I mean, I've already kind of like I got rid of my place. I got rid of my house and I put all my shit. I put most of my shit in like storage, and then everything else clothing wise, I gave shit tons to the homeless. And I'm living out of 2 suitcases, and I have my car. And if I want to go to Europe or South America or Australia, I drive to St. Louis and leave my car at Andy's, and I get on a plane and I leave the country. And
you drive to St. Louis?
I drove here from St. Louis.
You did?
Yeah.
You don't like to fly?
No, I don't mind it, but I've been a musician for 20 years. I've driven across the country 1,000 times. So it's like I love being in my car and driving, because I'm not on social media. It's the only time I really don't have to answer my phone, and I get to be with myself. And I'm a big fan of books on tape. So I listen to all kinds of books on tape and drive for 8 hours, 9 hours a day. And
you got a book?
My biography is going to come out next year.
Yeah, you need a book too, dude. You got a hell of a story.
The first installation is called What's in Your Head, The Life and Death of Tommy Vext. And then I'm going to be writing with my co-writer, Riley Perez. We're going to do my second book called Surviving Tommy Vext, which means like basically everything that we kind of talked about, the intricate details of what exactly was done, what happened, and what it's like now. And I think there's a lot of, if you are a musician or you're an artist and you're afraid of being canceled, there's a lot, I can educate a lot of people on how I basically survived and make more money than I ever did being on a major label. Like, I'm not playing arenas. If I do a tour, I do a club tour. I'll do 800 to 1,000 seaters. And I'm chilling. And to be honest, I don't care about touring anymore. I love to perform for people, but if it's made too difficult for me, then I'll wait. I'll just wait.
If you ask me, but I'm always an optimist. I think eventually shit's going to change back to where, you know what, the good guys are in control again. Someone's got to draw a line, dude.
The white hat theory is, again, I think that it's too much of looking outside of ourselves for a solution when the solution is within ourselves. Like every single person, every man and woman, every American, God-fearing man and woman, or even if you're an atheist or if you're agnostic or on the fence, everyone who understands the principles of right and wrong have a responsibility to themselves to do what they know in their heart is right now. And it's not going to be, I don't think Donald Trump is going to save everybody. I don't think I don't think Ron DeSantis is going to save us. I think that these are a lot of, I like Trump. He was very kind to me. He invited me to Mar-a-Lago. He shouted me out in his speech, acknowledged everything that happened to me. His son is a great guy. But I don't think he's a man. I think he's a man who's trying to do the best that he can for the country that he loves. And if people stopped looking for someone else to follow and started living more, like it's like people go to church, but then don't want to live like Christ, right? You guys want to go, see Donald Trump speak, but you don't want to take the actions to make yourselves successful, right? Because the more the more money you have, the harder it is to control you. The music industry tried to control me, but they couldn't cut off my finances because my primary sources of income were spread out among several ventures that they couldn't touch. So there was nothing they could do. They're like, we'll take this and we'll do that. I'm like, go ahead. I'm like, without me, you don't have anything. And the ego was, we'll just replace you. And now you have a franchise that's been destroyed. You have an artist that doesn't have the same identity anymore that it did, and no connection with the fan base. And you can't sell more than 4,000 records when we used to sell hundreds of thousands. So, that's cool, but these are the consequences of too much confidence and too much arrogance, And I talk about this too. Like my old guitar player from Bad Wolves, Chris, he quit the band about 4 shows with the new singer. He was like, this is over. And he made amends to me and I made amends to him and we hugged it out and we fucking had bro tears. And it was like, he's my brother. And like, despite all this stuff that's happened, bro, I have prayed for these men. I have no resentment towards them. And if they were like, called me and were like, hey, we fucked up, like the hangover, if they were like, we fucked up. We lost Doug. And if they wanted me to come save the day, I'll do it. I don't care.
It's because you're a good dude. That's what good dudes do.
No, it's because there's things that are more important than being right. Right? My sponsor used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? A lot of the problems that my part in a lot of the cancellation was I was right. And I wanted to be right. And I paid consequences because I wanted to be right. And I'm okay with that because those things didn't happen to me. They happened for me. And so I don't want other people to think that they have to comply in order to be okay. Because if you're smart, it's just a maze, right? What happened is that I got pulled out of the system and fucking kicked over here. And then I had to figure out a new system. And you can be okay. And 100%. That's the American dream.
It's just a little more uncomfortable.
Yeah, but life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? That's what everyone always talks about. Don't be afraid to be canceled. And nothing that's real can be destroyed. Eckhart Tolle talks about that. If you're the sauce, right, you can never replace the sauce, right? Juice comes and goes. The sauce is in the fridge forever. Be the sauce.
It's the magic.
Yeah.
Like you heard the old story of Walt Disney?
Tell me.
He first created a thing called Oswald the Rabbit. You heard of that? Oswald the Rabbit?
No.
Oswald the Rabbit. You heard of Mickey Mouse?
Of course.
That's the magic. So Walt Disney created Oswald the Rabbit. He brought in a bunch of people, to cartoonists and whatnot, and he was hiring them all. And then somehow, some way, he fucked up and gave the rights to some cocksucker.
Mm.
Well, so they took his whole fucking Oswald the Rabbit. So he went and said, fuck it. And so he left and started Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And then that's what they said is you can't fucking steal the magic. You say the sauce, same thing.
Yeah. But this
can't steal the magic.
This happens. This is what happens. It's like, if you can't have First Form without Andy, right? It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. I
hope the other day he said something about running for president as a joke. I wish the motherfucker would.
He'd have my vote.
Dude, he'd have my vote. He's got some dark past too. He's no perfect angel, dude, but what he is real.
Well, you gotta understand, bro, Andy's a hard son of a bitch, bro. Andy almost got murdered. Right? His whole face, he got stabbed up because someone called his girlfriend the N-word. And then 2 guys came out of a car while they were walking to a bar, and the guy pulled a knife and just hit him from the side. And he fucking beat both their asses and saved his own life. These are the kind of men we need to be in positions of power, who understand life and death, who have been through stuff, who have been forged through the fire, right? It's like, these are the experiences. Like, everyone wants to be like, oh, it's toxic masculinity and this, that, the other. And it's like, dude, nothing is more relatable than somebody who knows that they're here for a reason. Because inside, all of us actually really do know that we all have a purpose. We just, a lot of times, struggle to find it. We struggle to find our lane. We struggle to find what it is that God's purpose is for us. And then some of us who already know either are afraid to accept the responsibility of what that burden is, right? Like, think about Christ. You can't, 13-year-old boy getting told that he's the son of God from an angel. That's a heavy burden, bro. And if you only take that story as metaphorical, like, we all have a cross to bear. We all, we bear it for our family members. We bear it for our kids. I don't stop working because I'm responsible. I'm financially responsible for my mother, right? The woman who adopted a homeless crack baby, I broken the family curse. The first person to ever make $1 million in my family, despite all the shit that's been gone on, to still come out and not stop fighting. And that's the spirit of, like, that's the American dream. You can be born a crack baby. Yeah. You can literally be born a crack baby. And just like my brother's life, you have a choice. Every day that you wake up, you have a choice. And well, this is the thing. Who I was 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, it's not the same. This is why cancel culture and, it's actually civil crucifixion. These people are not courageous enough to commit violence against people who can fight for themselves. So they socially ostracize them, and they use smoke and mirrors by controlling media outlets, and they try to control people's opinions of you who might not necessarily know you personally, to crucify your character. By using things from the past or using things that don't even exist. It doesn't work. It's not going to last. And quite frankly, people are fed up with it, because who's left? And also too, it's like, whenever the other side of the aisle politically or ideologically gets caught for atrocities like Hunter Biden or his father or whatever, nothing.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know that we are not in control right now. How can Ghislaine Maxwell go to prison for trafficking children
and the list be withheld
and have no buyers? Who bought those little girls?
They're not just little girls, little boys too.
The same people who bought them are the same people who are trying to bring this shit into your schools.
It's the same people who are sitting in the seats of power.
Mm-hmm. And they're very, very sick. They're very, very spiritually sick people. They're in a low vibrational frequency, and they're in a delusion where they believe that they are inherently entitled to controlling the root of all humanity and the direction where humanity goes, because they're so sophisticated and they're so affluent. And this is what happens when you have multi-generations of wealth, where these people are born into a golden parachute so vast their feet will never actually touch human ground, that they lose their humanity.
It's heavy duty shit, dude.
Yeah.
What are you, an artist or something?
I write songs.
Do any of your songs talk about this?
Yeah. Yeah. My new record is called Grand Theft Audio, because it was all the songs that they tried to steal from me. And there's a track on there that I licensed for the 9/11 Commission, Bernie Kerik asked to use it. It's called What America Meant to Me. I wrote it after the 4th of July weekend of 2020, when all those little babies were shot in Chicago and nobody said anything about it or did anything about it. And, it's like watching the country that I love slowly disintegrate and intentionally, and how heartbreaking it is. Right, because there's a relationship there. We have a nationalism. My father was a Marine, right? My father fought in Vietnam. He was shot multiple times. He got hit with a mortar. My grandfather fought in World War II. My uncle, my godfather were all Marines. Like, You know, my grandfather was a NYPD detective. You know, I grew up with working class guys. You know, my dad was a janitor, became a custodian, you know.
What's the difference?
The custodian's the boss, you know, and so he took nothing and made something. And despite his alcoholism and his very, very rough childhood and his post-traumatic stress disorder, which they just called it shell shock back then, you know. And, you know, and I've seen miracles happen, right? Like a lot of these people get it, you know, we could go on the internet and look at the atrocities of humanity, but I've seen, you know, I've had a homeless guy give me $1 when I was homeless. You know, I've seen countless acts of random kindness and examples of why, you know, humanity should continue, right? Like I had this guy, we called him Uncle Jack. He's been sober a long time. I remember when his grandchild was born, he said, a newborn baby is an example that God is pleased with man and that we should continue to go on and inherit this earth. And these are, you know, this is a mentality of abundance and of gratitude, whereas the elites are in this scarcity mindset where they're hoarding power, they're hoarding control, they're in some delusion that there's too many people. Now, what I think there is there's too many people for them to control, and that it's eventually going to come to a head where everyone is going to realize these truths that we're speaking of. The internet's not going to be able to block it anymore. It's becoming vastly aware on Twitter. The more the bots are deleted, the more this is deleted, you know. I think it's
Twitter files come out.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things I find most ironic about the Hollywood exodus of Twitter is that it started when Elon deleted 44,000 child pornography pages. That was when it started. These people don't go on Twitter to talk about politics. Twitter was their porn hub. And they went on there so they could look at children in a sexual manner, in a disgraceful sexual manner, and still retain their anonymity. And they turned off their fucking sex addiction. So that's why they're leaving Twitter in droves, because they can't look at kiddie porn anymore on there. And anybody else who says otherwise is a fool. Absolute fool.
So Elon a good guy or?
I don't know.
Because I keep seeing back and forth. It's like the other day he had some Halloween costume on where he had I think Baphomet or
it was
the devil
like
upside down crosses.
Something. Yeah. Look, I think that,
which by the way could have been superimposed on there. Like you cannot trust the media.
I think that Elon Musk, there are multiple things that are questionable with the money, where the money came from to buy Twitter. It came from a communist bank in Italy and a few other banks. I think that we cannot avoid the glaring, obvious notion that he's at the forefront of production of Neuralink technology, which would put AI to the human brain.
Well, he's the one that said AI is more, you should be afraid of AI more than anything.
Yeah, but he also is he's also still in the business of fusing those two things together. And so I think that people need to be very wary, because it could, you know, the restoration of freedom of speech to Twitter could very well be a Trojan horse, where he's making a massive global statement where they understand what people are saying. They have the analytics. They know how truly outnumbered they are. So he might be coming in and giving us this, you know, totem at a consequence. So I would suggest that no one follow anyone, right? Follow whatever your religious belief is, whatever your God is, follow that. Follow your heart. There's no man or woman who is going to lead you in a better place than your own heart knows where it's supposed to go. So where I appreciate what Elon Musk is doing, and I think it needs to be replicated, I don't blindly follow anyone. You know, my alliance is with God and my country.
Well, that's where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, folks, first of all, Tommy, you're welcome back any old time.
Cheers.
Any old time, especially if your book comes out.
Yeah.
Or when your book comes out.
I'm still looking for a publisher.
If there's anybody, well,
I got dropped by Spielberg because of my political.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Dude, this is just crazy. Like I just saw that George Clooney and Sean Penn were saying, get your fucking shot. You should, it's criminal not to. Like,
they don't even have theirs.
Well, I'm thinking, are they like paid or like have you ever seen the underground tunnels and like there's some real shit that people need to wake up and see. Yeah. And there's some real shit.
One of my exes was sold into child prostitution at 16 years old, and George Clooney was one of the people who she was a client of.
See, like, dude, that's whack.
I got a lot of names, bro.
Well, dude, Jay-Z was on that Epstein list.
Yeah, I mean, nothing surprises me.
Did you ever see that video where Blue Ivy, I think her name is, Jay-Z and Beyonce's kid, were sitting there and they started clapping and she went. Like, I was like, whoa.
Who the daughter was? Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that.
Dude, but like, you get into the eyes wide shut type fucking crazy ass scenarios, you never know what's going on. But they started clapping and freaking out, and there's a video of the kid going. And then they looked at her and calmed down. Or what about when that guy in the Senate was talking and then he looked behind and you could clearly see that guy go.
Oh yeah, the hands
and then he turned around and shut the fuck up.
I have a book for you that I'm going to send you an ebook so you can all that stuff is. We're not allowed to have these things, but I have it.
Well, send it to me, dude.
Yeah, I will.
Hey, folks, listen. Go follow Tommy at the Lone Wolf Gang, at least for now, unless they.
For now, I'm on Twitter at TVext. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, just as Tommy Vext.
TommyVextOfficial.com.
Yeah. Go subscribe.
Go support. You're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where's that?
It's just Tommy Vext Official.
Tommy Vext, VEXT, folks. You can't miss him. You Google his ass, you'll find him.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming, though.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad we got to communicate. See, this is the beauty of like men sitting and talking about differences and misunderstandings.
Yeah.
It's like, now look.
Yeah, and I also want to clarify just for the Bomb Squad, when I say play by the rules, I'm not talking about fucking world global shit. Like, I think I'm on the patriot side of things there. I don't think we should be forced to do anything. I think, freedom of speech, even though I also believe in freedom of consequences. Like, yeah, you can fucking go out and say the N-word if you want to, but you can also get your ass kicked.
Correct.
You can go out and fucking cause hate if you want to, but you can also get retaliated. So like, just be kind is my thing. Yeah. But when it boils down to it, freedom of speech, the tyranny, the shit, the forced vaccinations, the cabal, the nonsense. I wouldn't say play by the rules when it comes to that. I was talking about don't get your ass kicked off social media, because that's where the fucking party is. For now. But all I'm trying to tell people is, why don't we just
crowdfund a new social media? I bet you if you got the Arate guys, we really put like a big group
they've already
together,
got one. It doesn't work.
But that's the thing. It's not cool. You guys are cool. If we got all the cool guys together and the cool girls together and made something that was efficient and was also open dialogue, and it wasn't politically left or right, it was right down the center.
But if you let everybody in, Tommy, you're going to get it back.
But that's
there's
okay.
left and there's right.
But we want that.
Which blows my mind.
We want to restore.
Yeah, but how can there be people that are so stupid? Whoa. Which is the far left. They're so, and by the way, I agree, far right stupid too.
Yeah.
But my point is how can there be people that are so stupid, so sheepish, so like brain dead in the world? You would think that they would wake up.
None are so hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they're free. On both ends of these spectrums, these people are committed to the belief that the rigidity of their beliefs is singularly the only way. And that's why it's become a religion and a cult. And we have to understand that there is a gray area, right? Like I don't believe that abortion should be illegal personally.
Should be illegal?
I don't think it should be illegal, right? I think that there should be reasonable parameters of common sense of when it is a child and you should not terminate its life.
Versus a tadpole.
Correct. That's my personal belief.
I'm on the same belief.
This is my belief as someone who's been a part of the system, who knows what children who go into the system go through, right? And understands what happens to a lot of unwanted pregnancies in, in families or one parent households that are in poverty. It's rough.
I agree with that concept, but I'm also open to changing my mind. Meaning, if someone could come to me and make me understand that a little sperm cell in an egg is a child, and it's not fair, and you're hurting a baby, well, then I'd change my mind. But I'm open to it. But
I also acknowledge that Planned Parenthood has been weaponized as a method of genocide against African Americans. It's a fact. The creator of Planned Parenthood is a eugenicist. You know what I mean? And a lot of the systemic racism that basically gets pushed on white people in America is not the responsibility of white people, but it's actually the responsibility of governments that have not changed laws like redlining.
Dude, there's a lot of shit we didn't even get into.
Yeah.
We could be on here for 6 hours straight.
You have to start. Well, there's a whole other conversation about this. Is a thing. Oh, you have to look at who benefits from. Why do they want black and white people to fight? They really want that.
They want everyone to fight.
But they really, really want that. Who wants that?
You tell me.
That's the thing. You have to start digging into who. Like, there is a group of people who the biggest pain in the ass to them and their domination is white people and Muslims. And it's a serious problem because of the abundance of number and their core belief values. Right? And it goes back to the ball people, the people who believe in this other anti-religious religion.
Yeah, but this is the problem, is like when I start to like really go down that rabbit hole, that's where I start to like almost lose hope. Like, if they're that fucking powerful, dude, we ain't doing shit about it.
But this is the thing. These people have no authority. They only have the authority that we give them. Money, like, again, money is not real. It's an exchange of energy, and the energy is based on the collective human consciousness and acknowledgement of a value of something that is part of our imaginations. There's only two realities on this three-dimensional plane. There's God's will, which is your flesh and bones and cells, the animals outside, the air, all the matter that is, right? Everything that we can't replicate. And then there is the human world of imagination. This microphone was made by Hitler. Hitler created the first microphone.
No shit.
Everything.
Hey, are you sure?
Yeah, I am sure. Not that this was the brand, but everything that we see that was made and created started out as an idea. Right. We imagined buildings. We imagined the iPhone. We imagined computers. A computer used to look like this big thing, like this wall. Now you have your phone is not a phone. Your phone is a pocket computer that makes phone calls. These are ideas, and we imagine these things. So currency in and of itself, there's a really good book called Sapien that talks about, it's you've read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they talk about how LLCs were formed, because before the LLC, if you had a business and you were a baker and somebody got food poisoning and died from your food, they would kill you, right? So they had to create an identity, like an alternate corporation the corporation would have to be responsible for the liability, legal liability corporation. So that aided to the Industrial Revolution and the Industrial Boom, because people didn't want to put their life on the line to open a business.
Right? That's all the reading you've been doing.
That's too much reading. It's a lot of driving and reading. Yeah.
People need to pay attention, man. People need to read. Dude, I want you to come back so we can get into some more of this shit.
Yeah, anytime, man.
The Dropping Bombs podcast is 100% for this type of thing. Dropping bombs, making sure people understand or get the knowledge. Because I'm telling you right now, knowledge is power, but it's better when it's applied.
Yeah.
Because if learning leads to knowledge, you're a fool. If learning leads to action, you own the world.
Yeah, and it's a it's like a lot of people talk about, like, again, I was listening to your other podcast where it was like gratitude is action. A lot of people make gratitude lists, right? And I've always done that in recovery, things to be grateful for, because it sets my mind into a place of neutrality almost, where I'm not, up or down. But the question that people don't ask themselves is, what are you worthy of? Are you worthy? Are you worthy to transcend your financial demographic, the imaginary financial demographic? The principles are all powered in our psyche. They're in our minds. They're in our spirit.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? So you guys are masters of these principles, because spiritually inside you're like, I deserve this. And so therefore, by speaking that into existence, like Christ said, I speak into existence, you make it into reality. An album is a series of notes that are composed with words and melodies that create information that make you feel. You can't see it, right? You can only hear it. Everything, literally anything is possible. It is. It's just anything is possible. And the more that every single person starts to understand that they are infinite beings that have God consciousness inside of them and they are limitless, though it is going to be incredibly hard for the elites to control that. What was that one?
That's my fucking machine gun.
That was a good one.
That was a carpet bomb.
So enough woo-woo out of me.
Dude, I appreciate you guys coming in. Folks, listen, go follow this dude. Make sure you pay attention, okay? Pay attention. Watch what's going on. Do the right thing. Always be kind. And until next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.